Hello and welcome to the SCOUTCAST. Blood of a Virgil, American Werewolf in Rondon and Sebastian, Halloween. Game Week 6 was like a horror film for some FPL managers. Welcome to our look at Game Week 7's Halloween fixtures. My name is Joe.
My name is Az.
My name is Karam, and here is Chris Wood.
Excellent.
It is.
Welcome everyone, and thanks to Jeff Holt for some FPL related Halloween puns. Feel free to leave them in the chat during the show for us to read out. Az, what's coming up in the show?
Well, I can't bear to show my face after my game week score, so I'm going to wear this until I've done my team reveal. But until then, we're going to be talking about whether it's better to sit back and do nothing, cheap strikers, and should we rethink our defences. Karam is going to take his turn to finally try and pick someone half decent for the SCOUTCAST differential, because it's getting absolutely ridiculous now. We can't get any points between us, so pressure's on Karam. We're going to fix the fixtures, we're going to reveal our transfer plans and captaincies, and we're going to talk about the horror show that was Game Week 6.
Okay, first of all, we're going to have a look back on our game weeks, and hang on a minute, I've come prepared with a bit of a sound effect. Hopefully it'll work. There we go, Karam. So you fire away first, Karam. Here's your top with 42 points. While you're speaking, I'm going to take my mask off because I'm finding it quite difficult to speak in it. So a really horrifying sight is about to come up, everyone. Right, Karam, 42 points. What went right, what went wrong?
Well, almost nothing has gone right. So Saturday, I've got 6 players in. It's like, okay, and Friday. So basically, Van Dijk has got the injury, and I lost my bet with a triple Liverpool defense. So I had to ship him out. And the whole week, I was set on getting Dallas and Sadio Mane for the budget I have to replace Harvey Barnes and Van Dijk. Then Bielsa came out and was clear to say that Strike will play in the middle for 1 million. Okay, fine, let's get him, and then I can invest that extra money to get Salah. And that has gone completely wrong. So I've gone from potentially 10 points up to a -4 in the deal already. Blanks from Liverpool, the triple of them. Salah, I got Salah, he blanked. Sterling blanked. Werner blanked. Chris Wood, what can I say? Blank. He is getting the verdict to be in the prison for
What
being
a surprise.
absolutely trash. However, he outscored Trent in the last 3 game weeks. So in perspective, he was all right. I had to wait until Sunday to get the points. Wilson with the late assist, Justin with an unexpected clean sheet, and McCarthy with an unexpected clean sheet. And Son, he can't stop scoring, and that's about it. So 38 net points, and I hate the team. I really want to wild card, but I still think that I've got a couple of more weeks to be the time to wild card. But that's about it.
When you know it's great. Right and it's not scary enough just yet. Just for the benefit of those listening to the podcast, you've got McCarthy in goal, nice clean sheet there. The Liverpool double defence, Alexander-Arnold and Robertson. Strike, Justin with a surprise clean sheet. Sterling captain, good going, but didn't work this time out. But yeah, good move. Son with 11 points, Salah, and then Wilson. Wilson ticking over with the points nicely there.
Yeah.
Wood and Werner, and barely anything on the bench. Just 4 points from Reed, so handled the bench pretty well there. Okay, right. I'm next up. There we go. Another horror show. 38 points, but I took a hit, so 34 points. So what I did, so I've got Martinez in goal. I've got Robertson, Lamptey, Ayling, Soucek, Barnes, Salah, who I brought in and captained for the lovely blank. Sterling, who blanked, who's matching Salah, incidentally, for the last 3 weeks. Calvert-Lewin, Kane, finally some points. And Jimenez, the star of the show with his 1 goal and customary bonus points. Justin's clean sheet points on my bench. So I got Ayling in as I've got nothing in the bank. I wanted to get Salah in. I was looking to get Alexander-Arnold out. I had to make that move, that 4.5. I wanted a 4.5 player. And I'm really happy with Ayling, actually. I'm not happy, just so happy that he's got a clean sheet, but I'm just happy with him going forward. I really like the look of Leeds. I wanted to get one of Ayling or Dallas. And obviously those who got Bamford, they did really well. But yeah, so some decisions to be made. But I'm quite happy now I've got Salah in, because I've now got 2 really expensive midfielders. I've got Sterling and Salah. I've got Kane. I've got the rest of them are fine. I can move them on with fixtures. I feel a bit much more relaxed about it now. And yeah, Salah blanked for me. Sterling blanked for me. Kane's still ticking over with the points. I haven't got Son. But Spurs fixtures changed in a bit. And Kane's great. And really, would I captain Son over Kane? No. So it'd be nice to have both. But I quite like what I've got so far. But yeah, no massive horror show, although the points is a pretty horrific. Az, let's get you up. Let's just get the sound effect again. Right, time for your team. So 32 points, even worse than mine. Yeah. Oh, take us through your week then.
I don't want to talk about it.
All right then. Shall I just tell the podcast listeners what your team is, and then you can chip in? You got Martinez, Alexander-Arnold, Semedo, and Lamptey. All of them blanked. You got Salah blank, Son, hooray, 11 points. Pulisic blank, Grealish blank, Werner blank, Calvert-Lewin blank, Neil Maupay blank. And there's Ayling on your bench.
Proper Halloween.
So yeah, to tip it all off, they all blanked, but then Ayling, who would have had a very handy 6 points for you there, on the bench. But the rest of it's. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad team. That's the thing.
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
it's a good team.
Do you want to talk any more about it, or just leave it?
Just that you've had a bad week when only one player gets any returns and he's 55% owned.
Yeah.
So who cares?
Yeah, it wasn't good. A lot of, barring say Son, a return from Jimenez, a return from Kane, it was a bit unpredictable in terms of the heavy hitters. But as we should see when we talk about defences, perhaps we need a bit of a rethink with our defences. And there's certainly strikers like Bamford who are catching the eye.
Can I just say, if you have Sace, if anyone's listening to this and they have Sace, I hate you.
Okay. Because he got the clean sheet, didn't he?
Just know that.
My Wilson just came late, my man. That's it, came late.
Yeah.
That's all I've got to say. Let's move on.
Okay, let's move on. Rough with the smooths.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to take this off so people can actually
hear
me. I'll keep the hat on.
Hang on a sec. Right, no more. I'm not going to do any more. I'll kill that joke. Right, done.
Very nice. Right, yeah, so, I mean, I had a bad week, so we're back to more roughs than smooths, which is good, but I'll give you out some smooths first, because there was a couple of good ones. So, Esselman bought in Jimenez for Mitrovic, so at a time when people were shipping him, he decided to bring Jimenez in. He bought Reguilon in for Davies, which doesn't look a great move on paper, but because Reguilon didn't play, he got Justin off the bench. So, actually did all right from that. Pasta Concerto, Reguilon didn't play, so he got Chilwell on, so 6 points off the bench. And Eton Messi, this is one for you, Joe. He gambled on benching Calvert-Lewin because he thought he would struggle with James out, and he played Zaha instead.
Oh wow!
So that's a pretty nice move. So they're the smooths. Right, now the roughs. This is what I really want.
Go on then. Let's get tucked in.
This is my nourishment this week. Reindeer Hot Dog bought in McGinn for Costa, which didn't go so well. He also benched Bamford.
Oh wow!
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Not great. Hollywood 11 did worse than me. 35 points, but took an 8-point hit. Worst overall rank ever, 3.7 million. Things can only get better, he begs. I don't know. Probably not. Probably get worse. It'll be 6 million next week.
Yeah.
King Carlos, this is great. I love this one. So in the last 3 game weeks, his defence, the combined total of all his defenders over the last 3 game weeks is 7.
Oh my God.
mean,
that's
how
not good.
impressive is that? He's had no clean sheet, no assist, and no goal from any of his defenders for 3 weeks. He's had Shaw's -2, Trent's -1, and Dean's -2 along the way as well. King Carlos, I salute you. That is fantastic. Triple burger this week. He took a hit in to bring in Salah and Strauch, which didn't go too well. He left Justin on the bench. He played Sterling, Rodriguez, Trossard, Maddison, Calvert-Lewin, all did nothing. 25 points all out. So again, there are some people worse than me. And this is the ultimate one. So if anyone's listening and they feel bad about what happened to them this week, it's not as bad as what happened to the world number 8.
Oh,
did you see what happened to the world number 8?
I've got a feeling it involves some hits or two.
It involves 56 points worth of hits.
Okay.
Because he forgot to press his wildcard activate button.
No.
And so he is not world number 8 anymore.
No, do you know where he is now?
No,
he's gone.
It's faded into obscurity.
Faded into
never
obscurity.
hear from him again.
Oh no, maybe he's got to claw that back, or he's always going to remember that.
I don't think he would open the account again.
I wouldn't.
I just did a couple I want to mention. Philman, who has been Phil has been on our Meet the Manager series, got a great track record, but even the great struggled this week. 35 points on his wild card, so he wild carded into this. Kane and Son, goal and assist were his only returns. McCarthy, Walker-Peters, Sace, Jimenez, they're just among the players he got rid of. He would have got points from. He's 19 points down this week from playing the wild card. That is what is happening at the moment when people are making decisions and wildcarding and doing something a bit proactive with their team, and it's not working out. Something we're going to be talking about. Another couple of managers I want to mention: Marcus Jarman, still top of our open to all fantasy football scout mini league, but has slipped from 31st to 57th overall. So still very, very enviable. He scored a respectable 57 with a hit. Kothari is the new leader of our FF Scout Community Members Mini League. 59 points and up to 142 overall. So yeah, some interesting, some good and bad scores there. So well done to those who are topping mini leagues. Let's come to the first of our topics. So this is, I've got a picture here of Calvert-Lewin looking pretty casual, really. He's looking pretty casual. He didn't really care. He don't care what's going on. What this is about is something I've been trying this week. I mentioned at the beginning of the show about my team, and I was really pleased to get Salah in, even though he blanked. And I feel really settled now. I've got rid of Alexander-Arnold. I've got a nice balanced squad. I've got a balanced defence. I've got those heavy hitter price points in midfield. I've got Kane up front, who's very reliable. Captain option for a number of weeks, I think. And I'm pretty happy with it there. So I feel since then I've gone a bit casual. And people may have noticed I was on social media a little less over the weekend. I've cut that down a bit. And I'm not tinkering with my team. I'm not logging into FPL. I looked in at Live FPL, which has a look at the scores. So I knew more or less how I was doing, but I couldn't really do anything about it. And there's that thing during the week, isn't it? You keep tinkering. Oh, maybe I'll get rid of this player and get this one in. I'm just going to leave it until the team news Friday night, Saturday morning, or if there's a Friday night match on Friday. I'm just going to make that move. And if I need to make a move, or this week, I'm planning no moves. And that's the state I want to be in, really, about this, because how often are we spending so much time on this game? And it's so unpredictable this season. Everyone knew that Patrick Bamford was the best captain this week. We all knew that. Every man jack of us. Why were we recommending Salah? Why were we recommending Kane? And so, you're spending that time on it. Just do other stuff. Do other stuff. Spend a bit of time on it and then get to. So I'm not advocating like going completely casual, do nothing. So there's something I've been trying, and I'm not alone. There's quite a few people have been thinking this. Andrew Rutherford got in touch with us. Almost everyone I know, including me, would have had a higher score if he'd made absolutely no changes since game week 1. Is doing nothing a good idea? And is it ever a good idea to do nothing when you have 2 free transfers? So that's the ultimate casual, wasting a transfer. FPL Guna, I really want to go back to playing FPL casually, he says. I literally spent 30 minutes on a Friday evening doing my team and enjoyed it lots. That was it. It's Friday before the deadline, 30 minutes, that's his lot. and he really enjoyed doing that. Don't know how I got so addicted to it in recent years, but I feel like I've got worse at playing the game the more time I've invested into research. And Paul has said, I think the start of the season has been extraordinarily unpredictable. Results, high scoring games and penalties awarded, particularly the first few game weeks. It's a usually reliable. Defences are conceding well above average, and it has us all questioning our own wisdom as fantasy managers. It's time to balance a life. So just before I ask both of you your opinion about how much time you spend on the game and whether you perhaps spend a little less, there is a website called game-change.co.uk, and what that does, it tells you if what you would have got if you did on absolutely nothing. Now, I'm not advocating doing nothing, but just cutting down a bit. So I had a look at that. 6 game weeks of moves, 2 hits and a wild card I've had so far this season, and I am better off if I'd have done nothing, but only by 13 points. All I've just described, those hits, those transfers, that wild card, I'm 13 points better off. 1-3. I might as well not have bothered. And if I'd actually have captained Salah that first game week instead of Aubameyang and kept it on him for the duration, I'd be 30 points better off. So I would be 2.5 million in the world instead of 3.4 million. Still bad.
I've got one question for you, Joe.
Yeah.
Is it a coincidence that you've gone more casual in your worst ever start to an FPL season?
No, it isn't, because this isn't actually my worst ever start.
Are you throwing in the towel? Someone asked on the chat, and I would like to echo that comment because that's what it sounds like.
No. Okay, so it's always interesting when people leave comments like that. You know, Az and Karam as well. I've been here for 7 years, week in, week out, saying whether I've had a good game week or a bad game week. Each move I make. So to throw the towel in, no. I could have thrown the towel in ages ago. I've had worse game weeks than this. I remember getting like sub 20 scores 3 weeks in a row, and I didn't throw the towel in then. So no. But no, I'm in this position here where we have a pandemic, where we have family, we have friends, and we have work and all these kinds of things to do. And I really don't want to be spending lots of time on a game week when Patrick Bamford is the player that we really should have been all getting, and Mo Salah isn't. I don't want to be spending my time on that. So no, not throwing the towel in. I shall be carrying on here week in, week out. So I don't know who said that, but they're wrong. So yeah, if I'd have done nothing but had captain Salah, I'd be 30 points better off. So still not that much better. So yeah, the question to both of you. We'll go to you first, Karen. Yeah, are you going to spend a little less time doing it, or more invested, or how do we cope with the unpredictable season, or would you? I don't know. Have you done any research into what you'd have done if you'd have done nothing?
Yeah, I used the website that you just described, and I found out that I actually did worse if I had done nothing. So I'm 11 points behind if I kept the captaincy on Aubameyang, who has never scored since game week 1, and done absolutely nothing. And
I wish I hadn't bothered checking, to be honest. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's a tricky topic to discuss, because it really depends on who you are and what does the game mean for you. For me, for example, I'm a player, but also a content creator. So people listen to me, listen to the team, that I work with, listen to the notes and data that I bring, and that requires me to spend more time than any other casual player to collect the data and make a comprehensive suggestions, I would say. Some people like to listen, some people like to take that advice, for example. So I'm in a position where I have to spend that time collecting the data and looking into the data. And of course, when you look more into the data, you find out different scenarios. What if this, what if that? Yeah, this player is good, but he is missing a lot of chances, for example, or this player is clinical, and all of these kind of caveats to your selection potentially. And I find it hard really to balance out everything I do with also spending that time on the game, and somehow I many of us, and including myself, judge the outcome a lot more than the decision-making process. So you might still think that captaining Salah or Sterling this game week is one of the very best options, but the outcome was bad. For me, for example, I still sometimes blame the outcome. I don't know why, but yeah, I could have gone for Son, for example, because he had a good form and so on and so on. So sometimes it's really about how you judge the decision that you made. Do you rate the decision making process A plus, B plus, fine, that's good, leave it and hope for the best, or you judge the outcome, and that's a key thing. And lastly, we always say that the game should be about fun, but it is also competitive. And when you come into community and you engage with friends and so on, it gets to you sometimes, and you really want to win it just for pride sometimes. So it takes some of the energy, it takes some of the mental health.
Well, I think you bring up
not meant to be.
I was going to say, you bring up, because doing the podcast as well. So I mean, obviously, all of us here, we have to do the research for these the content and the videos. Anyway, so I mean, I can't go fully casual because when I start work on Monday, I'm doing research for things like this, and that. But you also bring up as well about being, having your team, publicly viewed, and people, and there is that competitive edge with some people. Some people are really quite just nasty, and there's quite a bad side to the FPL community sometimes, and particularly, sorry to say, on YouTube, there's not much of a filter with some people's typing ability on there, and some can be quite rude, and sometimes it's not that as much gets you. I've been doing this a long time. I mean, I can just block and mute these people away. But you just does question the humanity a bit, and you just think, God, it's a game. You're moving little shirts around the screen, and why are you getting so heads up about it? And I think that's my attitude to it. Really, it's just don't take it so seriously. But you bring up that good point, really, for you. I mean, you have to do the research. You can't really escape from it because it's it's part of your working week.
Yeah, absolutely, and I started to really consider spending less time on the game overall. And there are two prime examples where I'm doing really well in other games where I spend a lot less time in that. I don't know if that's relevant or there is a correlation in it, but it certainly indicates that I might have to spend spend smart time, let's say, not a lot of more time. I play the Fantasy Bundesliga, and I literally spend 20 minutes on Friday evening just checking on the news, who's in, who's out, and just make my transfers. And out of 700,000 plus players, I'm now 1,900.
Wow.
Four digits. In the fantasy football, the Scottish fantasy football, out of about 50,000 managers, I'm in a double digit now, top 40. And that's literally by a work of 15 minutes on Saturday before the deadline, where I did the team sheets and see who's in, who's out, and I don't even watch games. The Eliteserien, the Norwegian game as well, I'm top 500 now, or 600, and I don't watch a lot of games either. So there is something about it where I do a lot better when I spend less time on it. So is it relevant? I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. But I just want to say at the very end that it's really about everybody. I would say take care of your mental health. Play the game the way you like it. You like to play it in the way that you feel comfortable with. And this game is part of the entertainment in your life. It's not your life. I do job for living. I have other commitments as well. So just try to find the balance. That's all I can say on that. And take it easy.
Yeah, and what about you, Az? Are you still going to be as committed as ever? 20 hours a week on this, or?
Well, it's difficult to say you're going to be less committed. I mean, I do 2 pods a week. I write articles for the site now. It's I'm probably the most involved in it that I've ever been before. But I think this season I've kind of distanced myself a little bit mentally from it. I mean, the last 2 seasons I've had really bad starts to the season. And it has affected my mood a lot more than I'd like to admit. But this season, it's so ridiculous. The whole situation of closed doors, a pandemic going on, and still being able to play football, the scores we're seeing, the results. I know I'm doing badly again, but I just don't have that same feeling at the pit of my stomach that it's the end of the world and I'm gonna, it's gonna be the end of me if I don't, finish in the top 10k. I'm kind of enjoying it. I'm not doing that well. I'm spending more time, I think, than I've ever done researching stuff, and I'm doing it for fun rather than trying to desperately find a player who's going to put me up the ranks. I'm realizing that actually I do just like doing the research. I really enjoyed the article I wrote last week on Villa, looking at their weaknesses and their attack and the players and all of that. And, my fantasy team is the kind of result of the research that I've put in. But I've subscribed to The Athletic, which I think is brilliant. It's such a good, if you have, if they're still doing that deal and you haven't got a subscription to it, some of the articles they post about formations and tactics and all that kind of thing. I've been watching more of the Monday Night Football and listening to tactics. I'm probably more involved with football than I've ever been and enjoying it more, but still caring about fantasy football, obviously, but not as concerned with my rank, because I just think in a couple of years, I could look back at this season and be like, oh, I finished 2 million that season. Oh yeah, but that was a season when there was a pandemic and Bamford scored a hat-trick and, and Man U lost and Liverpool lost 6-1 or whatever it was to Villa. It's such a ridiculous season. I kind of feel like if you are playing this game and getting bogged down, just think to yourself,
just
don't
take
worry
a back
about
seat.
it. Put an asterisk next to it.
Exactly.
Liverpool's win last year. Put a little asterisk.
Take a back seat. But I know what you mean about the sort of, this is something, as we all as content providers get. I mean, me and my tables, my goals imminent table and things like that. I don't just do that for here. I do it because I quite enjoy it. I quite enjoy the look of those stats, and I quite enjoy at the end of the week just having a look, just see where people are. Who are the most attacking defenders. Who is due a goal and with the expected stats. And that's quite good, and that's an area of research I quite like here. So it sort of prevents me going completely casual, but I quite like that. I quite like that side to it as well. But
I will just add one caveat to what I just said though. If I do finish in the top 10k, then it absolutely does matter, and this season matters more than ever because it's such a difficult season and I'm such a genius. So just bear that in mind.
Well, my ambition by this end of the season, I still want to get below 100k, which sounds not a great ambition to have, but I've never finished below 100k, and that's the last of my achievements apart from winning it that I've got left, and I'd quite like that. So, and that's my mission really, to keep going. And I think for me, my team doing slightly less so I've done a lot so far this season and it's not kind of working, and in previous seasons when I've not done so well and I've made lots of moves, I've over-managed in a way, and it hasn't kind of worked out. But under-managing, I think, can be. Less is more.
I think it's a season to get in players you like and just kind of enjoy it.
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get Marcus Rashford in at some point, when transfers permitting, and I've got the money for it, just because I like the fella. Because I think it's amazing what a 22-year-old is doing. And he's putting up with all that abuse from these middle-aged old farts in Parliament. And there he is, doing absolute good in the world.
Last game we captain, it was like 50-50 between Salah and Sterling. Well, briefly I considered Samba, to be honest. It was between Salah and Sterling. At the very end, it's like, okay, I'm gonna be biased. I wanna enjoy watching my team, and hopefully Sterling scores. So I felt in the last few weeks with this mad season, how is it going? I can't like chase it and just take it easy and just grow Sterling. I got Sterling and KDB at some point before I move him out to Son, just because I want to enjoy the game.
And this season we've got options. It's not like you're getting in players who you like but aren't good assets. And if you bring in an attacking player who for a side, they're pretty much all pretty good options at the moment. So I think now's a good time to diversify yourself.
I've started enjoying much
Pulisic
more.
Is a great example, I think.
I mean, I don't know if you remember your first football game, but I do, and it was Brighton against Tranmere, and the whole pitch was full of toilet paper. There was a streaker, and all sorts of craziness happened, and Brighton lost. And John Aldrich played as well, by the way. But I look back at that, and the thing was, it was 90 minutes of fun, and it was so funny, and there was so much humour in that game, and that's what, you know, I think sometimes amid the pandemic, amid the empty stadiums, the bizarreness of this season, sometimes you can forget the humour to it. And that's why I like on Twitter accounts like, say, FPL Partridge. They see the humour in these things, and there's so many funny people in the FPL community. And I, you know, and I'm an old dad gag kind of guy with my humour. But things like this week, I noticed that Cumberbatch scored for Dover, so I just immediately put a Sherlock Holmes pun in, and things like that. You know. Even if humour's as bad as mine, just find the humour in these things.
You've got a lot. I mean, you know, take this week for example. I had 2 Brighton players going into that West Brom game. You know, Lamptey puts that ball across the box. It goes. You know, it's the most ridiculous own goal. Ivanovic smashes it into whoever it was face. Lamptey doesn't get the assist, and then 30 seconds later gets booked.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you not laugh at that? It's such a ridiculous series of events.
And you can't control it. And
of course you can't.
And you get or you lose points.
The thing that really made me laugh towards the end of it was one of the final matches. It was Harry Kane. So I've done badly this week, and then Harry Kane got me an assist. Whoop-de-doo! I was really pleased. And then FPL took it away for about half an hour. They took his assist off, and I was just like, you know, welcome to 2020. This is exactly the kind of comedy game week we've got, where even an obvious assist is going to be, I was just resigned to losing it for no apparent reason. Some really odd but humorous things are happening this season, and you gotta laugh. Let's move on to some research, and here's us thinking about
that's the only segment of this show. We're casual now, so we're just gonna
I'm gonna
back to normal.
I've done a bit of research, and but here we go. Look at this. So Karam, we're looking at defenders. I've got a blast from the past up on the screen. Ivanovic, looking really old actually. Karam, defensive rethink. What's all this about?
Well, this is about how the season is going. We are looking now at buying Ivanovic potentially. So over the last few weeks, especially the last 2, we've seen some teams that might have potentially turn things around and improve defensively. We always look at the whipping boys and see which teams we need to target. Are these whipping boys still the same as the season start? Who are the good ones and the bad ones? Who should we target? And where are we now? That's a note from Joe. I'm reading it out as it is. Where are we now from the triple and a double Liverpool defense? Thank you, Joe. So we've got some questions from your community. FPL Makim is asking, as a double Liverpool defense owner, what are Karam's thoughts on Klopp's backline? I'll tell you later. Is it worth holding on to more than one Liverpool defender?
I have some news from the chat. Fabinho has gone off injured for Liverpool.
Hey.
That's a Scream's wild card.
Another defensive injury for them.
I'll tell you what, they should be calling up that young lad we got up on the screen at the moment, young Ivanovic. Maybe they can get him from West Brom on loan.
More of the questions. Magic Zico is saying, I've seen clean sheets popping up the last couple of weeks. Will this evolve your approach to your backline? Alan, is Nuno the new pragmatist with Wolves now a defensive side rather than an attacking one? And Adam Mack, is a Man City defender a good replacement for Digne, who got initially a suspension of 3 games, but we just learned that it is reduced to 1 game. But if you look for a replacement, who is the best one? And the other mid-price defender assets. And a question from Joe, probably you, Joe. You live this well. You will talk about that whipping boys. So
yes,
let's start.
That's just a note to you, actually, in the notes.
Yeah.
Just say, "I'll talk about whipping boys."
Well, let's start with you then. What do you think of the defenders and the whipping boys?
Well, I'm going to talk about whipping boys. No, so I put some stats up on the screen here. This illustrates really why we might have to rethink our attitudes to defenders a little bit. So the last 2 game weeks, West Brom have been amongst the best defences. I'll repeat that. West Brom have been among the best defences. So perhaps time for a rethink, especially important. So this isn't necessarily important this week, But it is important in game week 8 because Spurs play West Brom, and I believe Liverpool played Man City then. So we are probably looking at Son or Kane, whoever we've got, to be captain then. But West Brom are actually better than we thought they were. So looking at the last 2 game weeks, in terms of goals conceded, Manchester United, Man City, Wolves, Burnley, Leicester, West Brom and Leicester have all conceded a goal. But in terms of expected goals conceded, they're pretty low. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So West Brom are the 6th best team in terms of expected goals conceded. The reason I highlight this, I'm not saying everyone get Ivanovic, get West Brom, but I'm highlighting that is the times I've presented something that's a bit shocking to some people to think, because we all thought West Brom was the whipping boys. We thought they were the ones that were going to be absolutely hammered. But I don't think they are going to be that hammered, as Brighton showed. Brighton struggled. Looking at the last 4 game weeks, West Brom are mid-table again. So what's happened is West Brom have changed their formation, so they've got their act together a little bit for the top flight. But it's also filtering in for the last 4 game weeks. So this includes when their shape wasn't so good for the top flight. In terms of big chances conceded, absolutely the worst is Fulham with 13. And then Liverpool. So we're looking at those defensive frailties for Liverpool, and those of us up until recently.
Look at me.
You with your double Liverpool defence. Me, I did have it for a little while, and then Manchester United not being done so well. So I'm expecting them to improve, hopefully. Man City also 10 big chances conceded. Sheffield United 10 big chances conceded. But West Brom are down there with 7, and the best defences are, in terms of big chances conceded, last 4 game weeks, Southampton, Chelsea, Tottenham and West Ham. And this is of interest to us because a lot of us are thinking, aren't we going to be captaining Salah again or Mane? But West Ham are actually quite a good defence at the moment, as Man City found out, whereas Brighton are a little worse. So that may influence people's decisions around the captaincy this week. So this is why I think, for me, keeping an eye on those whipping boys and checking in with that as well. I remember last season, Bournemouth, awful Bournemouth, target Bournemouth. Hang on a minute, Bournemouth are quite good defensively now, and then they weren't again. Villa, target Villa. Well, if post-lockdown we'd all targeted Villa defence, we wouldn't have done so well because they turned it around, and so it pays to keep attention to these things. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
How about yourself, Az?
Well, I think the Liverpool double up in defence is done. I think if I'm sorry to tell you, Karam, but like you and Mark as well, and others who have them, if Fabinho's done his hamstring, like some people are saying, I mean, who even goes in at centre back alongside Gomez if Matip's injured and they need Lovren back? Amazingly,
who would you drop out of TEA and Robertson?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's a really tricky one. I think Trent is going to haul at some point. But if I had a 7.5 midfielder who had one sort of return in the first 6 games, I'd be thinking of moving them out. So I don't think Trent just gets a pass just because of what he's done in the past. He's a weaker option now than he was last season. So I think decisions have to be made about him. From what I've seen, I'd probably be keeping Robertson, in all honesty. I think with the share of corners and the how his heat map compared to Trent's. I know Trent is creating more chances, which he will do, but Robertson looks so much more attacking, and he's in sort of the peak form I think he's been in. So I would probably be leaning towards keeping Robertson. I'm looking at selling Trent this week, and
join me.
Joe,
I did it last week.
Not having any Liverpool defenders.
I use the phrase "cut the apron strings." It feels like it. It feels like your security blanket's gone, but once you've done it, it's actually okay.
It's one of those ones that I've got no doubt that he's got a goal in him. He's had a couple of free kicks which have had good saves. He's going to get some assists. I'm not saying he's going to blank every week, but I'm thinking over a prolonged period, 7.5 million for a defender in a Liverpool team that aren't looking great defensively anyway. Plus they've lost their talisman player. It's a bit of a risk. So yeah, I think there's good options, good defensive options around the 5.5 mark, like Chilwell. Tellez, if he comes in and starts playing for United, is going to be good. I was really surprised to see. I hate pronouncing it. There's no way I'm pronouncing Regulion right, but I don't know what it is, so I'm just going to have to say, you know what I mean. Anyway.
Yeah. Think of it like a pasta ready-made sauce.
Ragulion.
There we go. You're perfect.
Ragulion, there you go. Okay, that's a Ragulion. Okay, nice.
I don't know if it's perfect, but I just like to hear it sound like that.
So yeah, I think there's options around a cheaper mark. So saving 2 million can be the difference in doing quite a lot with your team. So I think now is the case for it. I'm not sure about this West Brom not being the whipping boys though. I know they've gone back to a back four. I know their stats are better, but in one of the games in the last two they played Burnley, and then against Brighton. I mean, we could have put 3 or 4 past them in the first half until we completely went off the boil. Yeah, but that's Brighton. We've got a psychological problem with our team in that once we don't sort of stamp our authority on a game, they lose the belief. And there's a guy in the chat, James. He said 2 things I was going to say, which is typical.
Yeah, he's stolen your research.
One is that we played Ben White in midfield, so had 4 centre backs on the pitch essentially. Yeah. And secondly, Mopé struggles when he doesn't has a centre forward up with him.
No, Connolly needs Connolly, doesn't he?
Yeah, Connolly up front with him. But we could see Welbeck coming in soon to play. So yeah, I still think West Brom, like squad wise, I still think West Brom have the weakest squad in the Premier League. So if I'm looking at teams to target for captaincy to bring in, I'm definitely still looking at West Brom being the ones that I'd look to go against. I think Slavan's a great manager, but I just look at that team and I think Ivanovic, like really, I know he's a legend, but come on.
I'm not saying West Brom investing. I'm just saying that it's looking at them in terms of, are they still the whipping boys? And it's not. It's Fulham. Fulham are the ones which have always been since game week 1. They're the ones we've been targeting, and I think it's the Fulham defence is the real ones we should be targeting. West Brom, I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, sure, they'll concede maybe 1, but they're not going to get. I don't think they're going to get hammered to the extent that say Fulham are at the moment on current evidence.
It was interesting watching Burnley last night because Burnley really looked up for it. Really looked up for that game. They went back to, some of the blocks they were making and challenges, and they were creating good chances of their own against Spurs. So I think myself included, written them off as being a team sort of doomed for relegation. But if they put in that sort of performance week in, week out, then they should be right.
Yeah.
Bit of fight about them, which I hadn't seen in previous games.
So before we move on, Karam, was there anything you wanted to add really about defences? What are you going to do with your double? Surely now you've got to move off your Liverpool triple defence, whatever you've got.
Well, yeah, I will, but I might give them one more week just because there is a chance that Antonio is out. And I really want to roll the transfer to have 2 for game week 8 because that's where some fixtures change and I need to move on some players. I cannot wait, actually. I want to ship out Chris Wood before TA. So it's really about dealing.
Told you.
Here he is. He's in a prison for being trash for 4 game weeks. But coming back, I can't buy the West Brom defense. Yeah, they are not in the whipping boys category in the last couple of game weeks, but I still think they are still bad defensively. But interestingly, in the list, there are some positives. Wolves, yes, we know from the past as well that they are a good defensive side. Burnley fixtures are improving, so yes, I can invest there. Man City have always been the kind of a team that they don't concede a lot of chances, but they concede big chances and they just concede goals. Yeah. Leicester, I think, whether that's a temporary tactic change in the back 3, whether that's stop Aubameyang pace or whatever, but I think they will keep more clean sheets if they stick with the 3 at the back. So I can see myself investing there at some point. If I look at the worst teams, the biggest chance conceded, I can see Fulham, Liverpool, Man United, Sheffield, Man City. 4 of those teams, we know them are very good defensive teams from the last season, right? So it's something that makes me think that it will not stay like this. Surely Man United will not be 14th or 15th. Surely that Man City will pick up pace. Liverpool will deal with it somehow. I don't think they will remain the lowest 5 teams in terms of defensive stats. But for the time being, we just don't know yet. And I still think that it will go back to the norm somehow. It might not go back to as it was last season, but I still think there will be some regression. And we've seen this game week. This was the lowest game week in terms of goals scored since game week 1. I think only 18 goals or so. So we've seen a lot of clean sheets in some fixtures. So that's why I want a wild card in a couple of game weeks time, because then I would have eight game weeks worth of data to really determine where I should go. It's a bit chaotic, and using the transfer, taking hits and so on. It's kind of, where would I go? I still don't know yet.
One of the things I think we mustn't lose sight of is those attacking defenders as well over this season. And if we are going to not be able to predict clean sheets, we at least want to get those who are prone to getting an assist or a goal. And last 4 game weeks, in terms of expected goal involvement amongst defenders, absolutely top is Robertson, and he's a player I have and I'm going to keep. Second, surprisingly, is Ayling. So he's a player I've got and I'm going to keep. Third is Dallas, and then we've got Webster. Weirdly, I think that might be more of an anomaly there, but you never know. And then we've got Alexander-Arnold, Stokowski, and then the likes of Chilwell and Masuaka. And when you search by the last couple of game weeks, because of course Chilwell hasn't played the last 4 matches there, so if you search by there, Chilwell is doing extremely well. If you've got the budget and you are looking to downgrade a Liverpool defender, I think Chilwell is probably the one I would go for. Or if you want to go down like I did, go much lower to 4.5 or something like
he's
that.
the one I'm looking at.
Don't go strike, just go Dallas or Ayling.
I mean, I must admit, Leeds, we'll look at fixtures a bit later, but Leeds fixtures aren't looking that great. But then it's Leeds, and they're a very, very unpredictable team at the moment. Let's move on to strikers. Cheap strikers people want to know about. What's this about?
Yeah. And this is something interesting because, a few weeks ago, I think we talked about just how great all the cheap strikers were. And I don't know anymore. I mean, I know some are still doing quite well, but I'm going off them a bit. I'm going off strikers in general. And a few weeks ago, I thought they were all the rage. So anyway, Bamford gets a hat-trick. So now everyone's, saying we've got to get him in. Antonio, we're waiting to hear news about his injury. There are some rumours going around, and they are rumours that he's going to be out for around 6 weeks, which would be absolutely massive for West Ham and awful for my team, because I would definitely have got him in for the run they've got. So that'd be a massive shame. But then we've got other strikers, keeping points sort of the higher end. So Jimenez and Ings, and then players like Kane, obviously. But then Che Adams starting to hit some form. So Mikey, you and Fancy Premska ask, who are the best cheap strikers? Looking at Bamford, looking at Antonio, looking at Adams. Watkins still hasn't scored apart from in that game against Liverpool. Would he still want to get? Pep Talk says, is it viable going up City players until Jesus and Aguero come back? And Lee Thompson says, is it finally time to scrap the Liverpool double defence and put some more money up front in attack? I mean, really, looking at premium strikers, there's only really Kane. Aguero's now injured. I've got Werner, but I'm massively going off him just because he just isn't looking how I want him to play. Lampard is worrying me. If I was a Chelsea fan and I was looking at the way Chelsea set up, I would be thinking, has Lampard actually got what it takes to get the most out of these players? Because I'm just not convinced that they gel I looked at Werner and Pulisic's heat map against United, and they're almost identical. Like they're both drifting into the same positions, and it'd be interesting if Werner's coming left and Pulisic is moving more central. Makes Pulisic a better option, makes Werner less a good option. But I'm just not sure that Werner's doing enough at the moment to really justify keeping him. But it's really hard to know who to move to. So I don't really want Kane. Everyone's got Kane at the moment, but he's the only logical option if I'm going up. So if I go down, there's a table you've got here, Joe, of the kind of budget, options.
Let's get up on the screen. Hang on a sec.
Yeah. So at the top, is this over the last 4 game weeks?
Yeah, this is last 4 game weeks, and I stopped at what was most expensive. I think they're all below 7 million, definitely, sort of 6.5ish. Yeah.
So top of the list is Patrick Bamford, who's someone who I think we all were guilty of kind of writing off as being a bit of a flash in the pan, a bit of a Timu Pukki. Would have a good run of form, and then probably we'll never hear of him again. But Leeds are looking great, and he's been such a focal point of that attack. So is it time to start kind of considering him? I've got Mopay, and the last 2 weeks have been absolutely awful owning him because he's missed absolutely great chances. So he's getting into the right positions, but he needs to start finishing some of them off. And then you've got Antonio there, who's amazingly like thirds. To have those stats and the fixtures he's had, I think just shows how great he is and what an option.
I didn't notice his price at the beginning. Has his price dropped from 6.5 to 6.3?
To 6.3, yeah.
That's not what I was saying last week about the market. It's mad.
No,
I thought he'd gone up. I thought he'd gone up from 6 to 6.3.
No, I think people are seeing the fixtures and sort of and selling, even though he's been doing quite well. And actually, I'm going to come to you first, Karam, because the one player on this list that I actually like the look of the best is probably Callum Wilson.
Yeah.
Because he just keeps ticking over, and he's so important to Newcastle already. I think having him is a great move.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Out of this list, I would only go for Callum Wilson and Antonio if he's fit. Bamford, credit to him, first of all. I don't regret writing him off even at 5.5 at the beginning of the season, because his numbers in the championship clearly suggested that he's wasteful. 44 big chances last season. He missed 34 and he scored 16. So credit to him, he improved that. He has been taking half a chances, but I can't beat myself for not going to him. He might be the one, a casual one. If I want to go okay, not chasing. If I want to go casual, Chris Wood to Bamford looks pretty easy. But Antonio is another one I like, but we don't know yet about his injury. Callum Wilson, he is. Let me check. He's one of few in the list that is on penalties as well, right? With Mitrovic and Antonio potentially. Mope, I think, as well. So penalties adds to him, to his credit, and he is key to Newcastle. His stats are okay, not as great as Bamford or Mope in terms of shots inside the box, but that's how in Newcastle system works.
He's not going to get many chances, but he'll convert them.
Yeah, but from half a chance, like I didn't watch the Wolves Newcastle game, but I was watching the highlights on SofaScore, and the momentum where it shows who is pressing on whom. Newcastle were like half. My impression was Newcastle were in their defensive side, and yet Callum Wilson somehow could make a fantasy assist. So he's sticking along with the points. I think at 6.5, he is a good value. The fixtures are okay for him as well. You can actually bring him and leave him until Christmas time when he plays Fulham in game week 14. He will score points in this period of time. So Adams is a kind of, I don't know. I'm not sold yet. I think he will always kind of be increasing the blood pressure. Like he's getting chances, he's wasting it. So I don't know if I am convinced enough to go there. For the rest, no, I'm not convinced to be honest. Amongst them, Antonio is unplayable if he's fit. But is he fit? That's the main question there. So from this list, I would go in my order: Callum Wilson, Antonio, and Bamford potentially. So those are the three I would look at.
I think Bamford is an interesting one because he did seem like a casual pick a few weeks ago. It was like the people who don't really watch a lot of football or play fantasy football properly will get Bamford because they saw he got some points there in the season. They're going to keep it on, but. I think we saw it with Norwich. They love to attack, and then they just completely went off the boil. But I can't see that happening with Leeds. I think Leeds are going to continue to be a problem for a lot of teams, and they're going to keep up this high intensity for the season. So I think he's a better option than Pukki was last season. Yeah. And I think, still around the 6 million mark. I think if you're looking to tap into Leeds in some way, attacking-wise, I think you've got the players like Dallas and Eiling that Joe mentioned. But then I think the next best option is Bamford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, I'm obviously gone casual. I should get Bamford in really, but I'm casual in terms of the fixtures with this one. So yeah, I've got Jimenez, who I'm happy with him. He's just ticking along. Weirdly, I'm not expecting. I don't know what people are expecting from Jimenez. He gets a goal, he gets some bonus. That's it. That's him. So I'm happy. I want to move him on to Antonio, and that frees up about 2 million. I don't know what to do with that yet, and I may just sort of keep that transfer in hand until I can work out what I want to do with it. But I quite like the idea of having 2 million in the bank somewhere. Maybe get a Chilwell in. Maybe go for, I don't know. But we don't know just yet for what I would do with that. But Antonio is the one I would look for. So looking at the fixtures, this is one. I think with Bamford, you never know what's going to happen. With Leeds, you don't know. But looking at the fixtures, if I'm going to go be a fixtures kind of guy, I'm looking at West Ham from game week 8. They've got Fulham, Sheffield United, Villa, Manchester United and Leeds themselves. And then Leeds have Crystal Palace, but then Arsenal, Everton, Chelsea and West Ham. I don't know. I think Antonio, to me, will get more points over that stretch of games, and I'm in the position to make that move. But if I had Bamford already,
if he's fit, he's number one.
But if I had Bamford already, and I was thinking of moving to Antonio, I don't know if I would. But I'm moving, for me, in my position, Jimenez to Antonio is the one. Now, if Antonio is injured, and it's looking like one of these kind of 6-week kind of affairs that he's not going to be around, then I would probably be looking at Callum Wilson, because as you were saying, he's that talisman for Newcastle. He's going to tick along with those points. They've got from game week 8. They start off with a really nice run actually. They've got Southampton, and then Chelsea, but then Crystal Palace and Villa. So they've got some nice fixtures coming up. So I think Wilson is a good substitute there for me. So that's the way I'm looking at it really. Just looking to play it a bit. I mean, having Jimenez is quite nice, because it allows me to move down with these and use 2 million somewhere else. But and there's a lot of choice. And Adams as well. Got rid of him on my wild card. Hey presto, he suddenly finds the net the second I get rid of him. I think if you got Adams, keep. If all of these players, keep. Watkins I'm not sure about yet, because we haven't seen him in the top flight enough, so we don't know. Mitrovic we have seen in the top flight. We know what we're going to get.
Having a crazy game.
Yeah, Mitrovic, we know what we're going to get. Loads of shots, hardly any on target, and that's just the way it's going to be. But with Wilson, you're going to get a quality striker and a talisman in a team. Antonio, we know. See, I'm not really keen on Mbappe. I mean, obviously, with hindsight at Evans, but I never thought of getting him in for the reasons you're probably thinking of. And for a similar reason, say I got Harvey Barnes in, and I'm looking to move Harvey Barnes on. So this is where the Jimenez money might come in handy. And I'm looking to move him on. And I remember talking to David on one of the captaincy videos about Harvey Barnes. And Harvey Barnes is a player he's never interested in because he just shoots a lot at the goalkeeper, not very well. And so he might get the odd goal and attacking return, but that's he's basically not. And so he's very wise there. And I'm a bit like that with Neil Mbappe. Every time I see him play, I think, yeah, this is great. He's a striker in my team and this is all good. But as an FPL asset, I'm not sure I really want him in my team.
He's frustrating because he can do brilliant things. Like the goal he scored against Everton, when he kind of won the ball off Pickford and turned and slotted it was fantastic. The last 2 weeks, he's made his decision making is just all over the place at times. He's the player who could easily score 15 goals in the Premier League if his head was switched on, but because he's got this ability just to completely forget how to play football, he'll probably end up with 10 again. That's my fault.
Is there anything more to mention on strikers before we move on?
Not from me.
No, good, fine. Let's move on to let's have a frisk of the fixtures that are coming up. So we've also highlighted and indicated some of those teams that we're looking at over the next coming fixtures. Just want to say that for this section, we're going to be looking at target players over the next 4 weeks. And because Fantasy Football Scouts partner with Football Index, there may also be players to look at buying through that game. Football Index, that's one where you buy and sell shares in players and use fantasy football knowledge to make a profit. So looking at these fixtures here, next we're looking at game week 7, 8, 9, 10. Top of the fixture ticker on Fantasy Football Scout is Everton there, with Newcastle, Manchester United, Fulham and Leeds. And Crystal Palace still trucking along. So Zaha, those who've got Zaha in, Palace may appear to not be able to create some matches, but then Zaha is getting the points. Wolves, Leeds, Burnley and Newcastle they have. Manchester United, up there as well. Arsenal and Everton then gets much better. West Brom, although not quite the whipping boys, but still expect them to score. And then Southampton, and then Villa still doing well for the fixtures. Southampton, Arsenal, Brighton and West Ham. Chelsea's fixtures get a little bit better. Burnley, Sheffield United, Newcastle and Tottenham. And I think that's going to be interesting because I'm not quite sure what we're getting with Frank Lampard at the moment. He's gone quite defensive. Surely you would look at those fixtures and go, don't go so defensive. It's Sheffield United and Newcastle, mate. Just unleash these players you've got. These really good options here. And sort out Werner and Pulisic. I mean, I think I can't remember who it was. I think it may have been Paul from Fantasy Football Scout who was showed the heat maps of Pulisic and Werner. They're the same. Why are they tripping over each other?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, they're both stuck out on the left. But this is what I mean. I think that could be good for Pulisic. Because if Werner's coming out to the left, Pulisic isn't going to be standing next to him. Pulisic is going to have to drift more centrally. So if I'm looking at which one to keep out of those two, it's Pulisic for me.
But in terms, I was just looking at this, the next four for terms of captaincy. In game week 7, Spurs v Brighton, I think looks the best. I think West Ham are better than Brighton defensively, and so I think Kane and Son are the best there. But game week 8, Spurs against West Brom, looks on paper the best, but are West Brom really performing? Or is it just because they've been playing rubbish teams like Brighton and Burnley? There could be the factor there. Something. What Karam was talking about, getting 8 weeks worth of data going, that's where, a wild card then might pay off more because we've got much more data. West Ham's fixtures get better. If Antonio is fit, he plays Fulham. That's a very good shout for it, especially because Liverpool and Man City play each other in game week 8. And game week 9, Everton, Manchester United, they look quite good for the captaincy. We could see a shift then, much more Fernandez's, and he's a player I might, of Rashford, Fernandez, I'm quite keen to start looking at them from that sort of time, game week 9 onwards. And then game week 10, it's City time. It's Karam's team. City at home to Burnley. Surely that's going to be goal-alicious. Well, we hope so.
We hope so.
And Liverpool
don't have a striker.
Don't have a striker then, but maybe we can all give it a go. And Liverpool and Manchester United look good as well for the captaincy. So just looking at the next few fixtures, I think in terms of captaincy, I'm thinking City and Manchester United, gonna have to start thinking about them a bit more in a few game weeks time. I just wanted to mention that with Football Index, you can take advantage. They've got a 7-day £500 money back guarantee, and link description all below. This is for 18 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. You can check begambleaware.org, and there's a link in the description as well for that. Karam, our differentials are absolutely awful. I mean, talk about horror show. So, Jesus, Mahrez, Aguero, Ali, Bale. I mean, just basically
Mostly they don't even show up.
List Van
well,
Aanholt, list all the players that have never shown up, and that's what we'll pick.
It's incredible. Yeah. It's genuinely incredible.
It's quite,
isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, look at Ali, Bale, Van Aanholt.
our picks have been great, apart from the fact where they're not.
Yeah.
But,
so my mission is to pick someone who can make appearance points.
So
is that enough?
next 4 game weeks, best sub 5% owned player. Karam, please save the Scoutcast. Who's it going to be?
Okay. I'm going a little bit different. I'm not gonna pick a striker. I'm not gonna pick a midfielder. I will pick a defender. In the last 2 game weeks, only Chilwell has created more chances than Joao Cancelo. 0.8%.
Oh, you've picked another one who isn't going to play. For God's sake.
Look, I checked the Champions League lineup to see if he's starting, and he's not. So I would like to think that he will get more starts in the Premier League. He has got Sheffield United. Liverpool is the tricky one, but then 2 nice fixtures. Well, Tottenham afterwards, but then game week 10 against Burnley, I think. So good fixtures going forward, and in the next 4, I fancy him. He's been very good when he played, and he got an assist already against West Ham, and he's been really further forward. He has never got a chance last season, but when he played very, very well. So if you look for a Trent replacement, I might potentially go to Cancelo.
Rub it. You're never gonna go for João Cancelo.
I'm not going to mock
no.
Cancelo.
Do you bet? I'm going for another bet, apparently.
Yeah,
This
mind games with you, Karam, is the easiest thing in the world. We just bet you anything, and you and you do it. It's great.
I'm not going to mock this. I think given our supposedly sensible differential picks so far this season, I think getting a rotation risk defender from a team that can't attack or defend is an absolutely fine idea.
Well said, Joe. Yeah.
No, but I think it's an absolutely fine idea because we don't know. I thought for a minute you were going to tell me that Chilwell's ownership was below 5%, and I was starting to think really exciting then. But Cancelo, I think it's absolutely fine.
It's a casual pick, right? It's a fun game.
Go for
it. Here you go.
Go for it. And also, as we've said, towards the tail end of this, Burnley game week 10, so towards the tail end of this run, so Sheffield United, you could at least get a clean sheet returns there. There's attacking returns, then Burnley. So there's a possibility of 2 clean sheets if he plays, and a couple of attacking returns. And that is more, I mean, to be honest, if he gets appearance points, he's better off than our pick so far.
That's a little upgrade.
That's an upgrade. So yeah, I'm backing that all the way. I shall cheer him on every time he comes off the bench. And let's move on to our teams. So I'm going to go first because mine's easy because I'm not doing anything. I've got Martinez. I'm going for Justin and Ayling. I don't know what I'm going to work out for that Leicester Leeds game, but I'm hoping either nothing or something happens. Robertson, Souček, Barnes, Salah, Sterling. This is final appearance for Harvey Barnes, so I hope he I'll send him off with a goal. I've got Calvert-Lewin, who's going nowhere. Kane, who's going nowhere and is my captain. And Jimenez, who's got Crystal Palace at home. And then he will disappear the following week. So game week 8, I will have to get rid of my casual overalls and get my my tux out. I don't know whether it's going to be a Maverick tuxedo for this one, but Jimenez and Barnes will go. I don't know who for. Antonio and someone else probably. Let's see. Let's have a look at your team. Now you have Martinez, Alexander-Arnold, Semedo, Ayling, my man, Salah captaincy, Son vice captain, Pulisic, Grealish, Werner, Calvert-Lewin, Neil Maupay. So 2 things. You're happy with Salah rather than Son for the captaincy, and also anyone going to go for this, or you're happy with this?
I got 2 frees, so I think I'm going to lose Alexander-Arnold for Chilwell, kind of regardless, because that gives me a bit of money to play with. I mean, I could then use that money to do Werner to Kane, which is the most boring thing I could ever think of doing. I watched the game yesterday, Kane v Burnley. It was exactly why I don't want Kane. Like I just get frustrated watching him when he decides that he's a midfielder and he's creating stuff in midfield and he stays there. And you see all these other players bombing on past him, and he's just trundling back to the penalty area.
Did you see the highlights where it looked like Son was saying to Harry Kane, who was running at him lovingly, did you get give me the assist? Did you get the assist? Is he playing FPL? Who got the assist?
Yeah. Well, they've got this record. They're going for this record, aren't they? The best duo. They're behind Lampard and Drogba. So I mean, it's very sweet. I just the thing is, I don't really want 2 Chelsea attackers, two Tottenham attackers, but I've already got 2 Chelsea attackers. I don't want 2 of them either. And I'm looking at my options of who to move Werner to. There's no one else I can move up to in the striker bracket, so I'll have this money and not much to do with it. And if I move down, I'm moving down probably to someone like Bamford or Antonio. And so is my hatred of Kane, which isn't really a hatred, I just don't really want him, but is my kind of not wanting to get Kane so strong that I will purposely get in probably an inferior player just so I don't have to get him?
I think if you can afford it and it's free, Werner to Kane, it kind just do that in a heartbeat, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. It kind of makes me think I'm overthinking a bit. I mean, like you said, my plan though is to be looking at Fernandes. So the current plan, which will obviously change, is probably do Alexander-Arnold to Chilwell, Werner to Kane, and then in a few weeks move Kane and Souček out, and get Fernandes in. So that's my current plan.
Question to you: as with Fabinho out now, surely you have to find a way to start Souček, maybe captain him. Well, yeah, no, not captaincy, just to start him. I'll be tempted. I would be tempted.
I mean, I haven't seen Souček. I mean, if it's a case between playing a striker or Souček, I'm going to play the striker. I still think Spurs, like teams can get at Spurs. I mean, Burnley played well against them yesterday. I think Spurs will be really happy with that 1-0 win because, on another day they could have conceded. I think Burnley didn't have like amazingly clear-cut chances, but looked good against them. I wouldn't be surprised to see Brighton score at least one. I mean, you're right. I mean, Souček is someone. Souček to me is just a lovely bench option. He's a player that I'm happy to have on the bench, and he might come on. And if he does come on, then I might get some points from him. But I'm not looking to start him yet. I mean, there's West Ham players that I'd rather have over him. I'm really interested in like Kufal and Masuaku when their fixtures turn. Bowen looks really good. Antonio, obviously, if he's fit. So there's plenty of options in West Ham. I like Souček, but he's not ready for the first 11 just yet.
Okay, Karam, let's have a look at your team. So just for the benefit of those listening on the podcast, you have McCarthy, this double Liverpool defence, Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, Struijk, Justin, and then in a 4-3-3 you've got Sterling, Son, Salah captain, and up front Wilson, Wood, and Werner. All the W's up front there.
Triple W, triple S.
Yeah. So very very nice alphabetically symmetrical team there. So
bad performance.
Yeah. So I mean, you sticking with this, and you're happy with Salah over Son?
Probably. Yeah. I'm not sure. It's gonna go along the three again this weekend between Sterling, Son, and Salah.
Chris Wood, what is he doing in your team?
I'm gonna, I might give him another game. Just leave him. Just have a laugh. I want to have a laugh at this 2 points from Chris Wood. Here he is. He's gonna go soon. I promise. I'm not sure between the captains. I think Salah is the closest. The fact that he's benched in the Champions League means he's fully rested for the weekend. I think Sterling will play, but I can't risk having. He played like 4 games in a row, I think now, so he is due a benching, I think. But I don't know yet. Son versus Brighton could be one of those games where he holds again. But I'm gonna wait until Thursday, see how they play in the Europa League. So currently it's Salah. I'm planning to roll the transfer.
So you're happy with Werner then?
No. Not at all. The fact that they have a Champions League now midweeks will make Lampard sub him off after 70 minutes, just exactly like Nagelsmann was doing with Leipzig last season. 75 minutes, take him off, put Abraham or Giroud, and he's not on penalties. He's not getting enough chances. No, too much. But Burnley, it's a good fixture. The one after, I think it's West Brom, if I am correct. So the next, Sheffield, and then in Newcastle. The next 3 are really good. But can I be patient with him? I don't think so. There are so many options, so many. Bamford is better than Werner, believe it or not, fantasy-wise. But I think with the problems that I have now, I would keep him. Just spoke about dropping Trent. He finally delivered an assist in the Champions League, so I might be tempted to keep. So for the benefit of the podcast, I've got McCarthy, Justin, Struijk. Hopefully he lasts longer than 20 minutes. Robertson, Trent, Sterling, Son, Salah. So no changes. Wilson, Wood, and Werner. Hopefully I can roll the transfer, but Salah captaincy it is.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got potentially some interesting things to think about. Really for game week 8, I think game week 8 or 9. We're thinking a bit further ahead, and game week 7. I don't know. I just want to kind of sort of get it out of the way. Just hope Salah does well. Hope Kane does well, and hope some of the more differential players that do well. But especially Sterling. I really could do with a bit of a Sterling haul against Sheffield United. Fingers crossed. Just before we go, just want to mention the members area. All the lovely stats that we've been showing, all those members tables there, that's all from the members area. Lots of good stuff in there, especially with the expected goal stats as well. Absolutely teeming full of information, and as he pointed out, has been using them to good effect in his recent article last week on Aston Villa, who who was still
predicted that Helder Costa assist.
Who was still ripe for investment, and I may eventually get Jack Grealish in at some point, which seems logical for Harvey Barnes. Really,
I was disappointed with him not getting anything in that game with Stroud getting yellow carded and subbed after 20 minutes. I thought, surely this is going to be good. In fact, I remember checking the scores and I'd seen him go off, and I thought, this is going to be good for Grealish. I checked the scores again; they were 3-0 down. I was like, what's that? That's that dream.
Well, he's a good manager. He spotted a weakness in his side, he removed it, and got a better player in who did a job indeed.
Yep. I could have had another -2 probably.
But plenty more videos and podcasts coming up this week. I did put a thing in our Slack channel asking people to make them a bit Halloweeny. So we'll see what the other video hosts have come up with for the rest of the week. But for the meantime, it's a goodbye from me.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Goodbye all.